Hel- Hello, my name is Madison Watson, and this is my final project about homelessness in California and communicable diseases. So, for the health campaign background, California actually has the largest houseless population in the nation, and it spans over 50 blocks. It's in downtown Los Angeles and has been given the nickname of Skid Row, or also Tent City. And communicable diseases is highly attributed to mortality in Los Angeles, California, and also in California as a whole. Communicable diseases are a lot attributed often to high volume areas. They can also be attributed to poor sanitation of a person or poor sanitation of the environment. In Los Angeles County alone, there's a little over 50,000 people homeless on any given night, which is about 53.4 people homeless per 10,000 people. And in Sacramento County in Northern California, there are about 3,621 people homeless on any given night, and 23.7 people homeless per 10,000, And that's just under half of the country's unhoused population, located here in the state of California. So what are some of the campaign goals that I have for the project? So for my campaign, I would like the education of the importance of personal and hand hygiene, education of how disease is spread and how rapidly that spreads, giving out hygiene supplies, having accessible hygiene stations, an increased number of bathrooms near places where there is a high volume of people, vaccine administration being increased amongst these populations, and having the policy to enforce the upkeep of these stations for hygiene. The model we're going to use for my campaign will be the ecological model. This includes the levels of intrapersonal, interpersonal, institutional, community, and policy. The ones being used for my health campaign would be intrapersonal, interpersonal, community, and policy. By recognizing that there's multiple layers of influence in people's lives, you can then intervene at multiple levels to make the healthy option the easiest option. In the campaign goals outlined above, I'd like to start with the intrapersonal level. This would be where the education on personal and hand hygiene would be most effective. On the interpersonal level, the education of disease spread would be the most impactful. And this is impactful to the interpersonal level because living in close proximity to one another is a social factor involved. Adding education about communicable diseases to one's close family, friends, and neighbors can make them more conscious of their everyday actions, thus making the community safer. On the community level, giving supplies to make hygiene more accessible makes for the healthy option to be the easiest to be achieved. The supplies that would be given out would be hand sanitizer, wipes, face coverings, and disinfectant spray. Along with this, there would be stations that would be outside of living quarters, along with increased bathrooms or portable bathrooms, also known as porta potties. Another intervention on the community level would be to vaccinate the community. Vaccinate the community lowers the risk of transmission immensely, since a lot of disease and or infections, there isn't a vaccine available for that. And lastly, on the policy level, we want to create a bill for the state of California to make the upkeep of these stations and bathrooms mandated. Without the stations being up to date and stocked, the program would ultimately fail because there would be no longevity in the intervention. In previous studies, we will look at hepatitis C outbreak from 2007 and the tuberculosis outbreak study of 2013. In the Hep C outbreak in San Diego County, there was an outbreak in the houseless communication in the community. Some of the risk factors of the outbreak were homelessness, drugs, vaccine access, and the sanitation of the environment around them. In this study, they targeted those vaccine efforts towards people who experienced homelessness because of the high volume of people in one area and the incubation period of the disease. In order to achieve these efforts, the researchers and public health officials partner with local organizations to vaccinate the community. In the tuberculosis outbreak, another study found that in 2013 in Los Angeles County, there was an increased amount of tuberculosis seen in the houseless community. The outbreak was driven by the risk factor of experiencing housing insecurities. Tuberculosis is spread through air droplets when one infected person coughs, sneezes, laughs, or anything of the sort to an uninfected person, and they contract the disease. This outbreak specifically was combated by having symptom screening, testing, treatment in high volume areas, and also a lot of signage and word of mouth of these symptom screenings around them. So for my campaign, I'd like to do social media posts and or infographics, some signage and posters, and of course word of mouth gets people going as well. Although my campaign is specifically towards people that experience homelessness, a lot of these general ideals can be attributed to the general public. For example, hand and personal hygiene are important to everyone in the general public and not just the homeless. This makes for the reach of the campaign points to be easily distributed and for aspects of the campaign to be targeted for the homeless people, such as increased access to sanitation supplies and the increased amount of bathrooms. The signage would be a little bit more specific. While we do what we can to educate people, it is also important to be culturally competent and sensitive about our topics. Experiencing homelessness is not easy, and ensuring that the signage is educational while also being non-judgmental and sensitive to that aspect of people's lives. So how will we judge the impact of our evaluation, and how will we judge the impact of our campaign? So health visits pre and post campaign, vaccine administration, and interviews of people in the community, as well as how often are these hygiene stations, being updated and restocked, and what exactly is being restocked each time, and how frequently are these uses. So here you can see two infographics to my right. One is a washing hands infographic that can be applied to the general public as well as the houseless community. And the blue one is tips to stay safe and to also keep others safe. That can also be attributed to the general public and the houseless community as well. And on the left here, you can see a tweet that I mocked up. This would be specifically targeted to those who experience homelessness. This is where you can find the increased access to bathrooms and hygiene supplies. And it would list the county, and ABC XYZ 123 are locations in that county where you can find these stations. And that concludes our presentation for today. Thank you so much, and I enjoyed this semester with you.